my 2024 Supercoach season in review. It actually feels fairly simple to me, what I did wrong and how I can fix that, which is awesome news because the last thing you want is coming into next season and just not sure where you went wrong. And I did start pretty slow, unfortunately, after 4 rounds, just under 55,000, then 28,015 into 8.5K by round 7. So improved drastically into 5,600, and then we'll kind of up and down. The lowest for the year was 2,301 in round 19. So unfortunately didn't make any ground through round 13 to 19, and I do think I put a little bit too much into guys that could do a job for the bye period rather than focusing on just top tier guns. I know Tim Williams mentioned that on his, and it's something that a lot of us more experienced guys in fantasy landscape obviously haven't played Supercoach full on for more than a bunch of years, but yeah, something that's especially in Supercoach now with the new rules, it's something that you don't have to focus on too much. But where I got things wrong was the first 5 rounds, and we're going to go through that in the next little bit. And then just hung basically from round 18, I pushed back into the top 3,000, and then I stuck in that range all the way down to 2,301, and then back out to 2,663 to finish off my season there. So 2,663 was my rank, unfortunately. But my round 1 team, this is where I got things wrong, unfortunately. And it's just I never really felt super settled on my round 1 team, and that's where it hurt me, obviously. And I felt like I did feel weak in a lot of positions, and felt like I needed the massive upside in halfback and fullback there. So picked Ponga, Turbo, Cleary Hines, and then Dylan Brown as well. And I actually think that caused me more trouble than good, especially with them not doing well. But we know with mid-rangers and that and the cheaper guys, if you're going to select a lot of them, like I ended up doing because I put a lot of my cash up top, you have to rely on luck, and you have to rely on those guys doing well from the jump, and that wasn't the case. So that's where I made my mistakes, unfortunately. But my round 1 team of Brandon Smith, Levi was a mid-rangers, and then Totola was a bit of a miss as well, but May, Hughes, Henry. We got Lukey, Fermor, Piakura, Smithies, Burbo, and Chan, so no guns in that position. Cleary and Hines, Brown and Metcalf. Centre wing was Laybut, May, so Taylor May there, Hutchison, Tuapiki, Salmon, Bostock, Strange, and then Ponga and Turbo. So yeah, I just felt like it left the rest of the team weak having all of that cash in there, and we'll explain in detail those guys a little bit further. So likely for next year was my initial reaction to this team before I delve into everything from here. There's lots to go through, and I hope this helps you out a lot here. And make sure, guys, Finals Fantasy, it kicks off at 7:50 tonight, so make sure you get in and play that. It's a mixture between fantasy and NSC scoring with missed tackles down at neg 1. It's got intercepts, it's got tries, try assists, all that kind of stuff is up a bit higher as well. So a little bit of a combination between the both, with kick meters and all the good stuff there that we love there, turnover tackles, all the fun stuff. So yeah, jump in that. The form is in the description. Only takes you a couple of minutes. So yeah, I just think likely I should be dropping one of the 5 guns or spend a little bit less on some of those guns, because I feel like I got them all at peak price, unfortunately, peak value, based on what they scored the previous year. And we know it's hard to begin exactly where you left off the year before, so that definitely hindered my squad overall. They had to be perfect, and we know that they weren't. And then most of the mid-range guys started really slow as well, which didn't help. So my mid-range flops were Lukey, who got injured in round 2 after a 63 in round 1. Pretty solid, but yeah, didn't work out. Brandon Smith, Totola, Piakura, Taylor May, and Hutchison were my 6 flops, unfortunately. Smith just didn't have enough minutes, and I was hoping that he got back to previous form, which he didn't. Totola, again, I was very much hoping for a form reversal with him, but he didn't do too much. Then he got injured, but front row forward, not a big issue. Piakura had the HIA in game 1, and then he regressed, and so did the team. So heaps of missed tackles. The team struggled, so he didn't get the attacking stats that we expected. Taylor May just never got the ball after round 1. Started well, and then just nothing happened. Drew Hutchison, unfortunately, he just regressed as well, and he missed a bunch of tackles and just was a step too slow, unfortunately, with the flops. The mid-range wins, I had Terrell May, Bo Fermor, Metcalf, Smithies, 345, mid-range-ish to cheapy. And then Zach Laybut, who had a good start with his 103 with that triple, and then he had a couple of 20s and then got injured after a try, 47 in 20 minutes. So he was a fine pick overall, but definitely a bit of a gamble pick. getting that spot for the cows and needing the cows to start really well. And to go to him when they had Val Holmes on the left and Murray Tully, probably a bit of a miss of a pick, but it started well. 103 really helped me in round one. But with Terrell, he was a beast for most of the season. Fermor, he started a little bit slow, but was solid enough. And then was great until I sold, where he actually got even better after that, which is usually how players work in an ACL recovery season, is they build up into it. Metcalf had a great start. I actually sold him the week that he got injured to get Galvin, so that worked out. And then Smithy's there, his first few months were great, and there was games where he was getting 80 minutes, making big tackle numbers, big run numbers as well, and the odd offload there. But my cheapies, I feel like I picked well, and this really helped keep my season intact early with the cheapies. So Levi, Hughes, Henry, Burbo, Tuapiki, Bostock, Salmon, Strange were all good picks. I actually sold Bostock way too early, but they were all good picks from the start in there in that one. And then Chan was the only real flop out of the cheapies. So I definitely think that helped. And then I got a bunch of the mid-range guys that were correct. There was a bunch of flops, and then the expensive guys, apart from Turbo, didn't really perform how I wanted to kick things off. So yeah, plenty of easy things to change in that round one squad there. So look at position by position basis now, and hooker there. I just think going mid-range and cheapy to begin caused me to use a few too many trades in just such a poor position in hooker at the moment. It hasn't got the upside, hasn't got the high scoring that center wing and second row forward and halves and fullback obviously does there. So guys like Robson, Reed Marnie, Egan were the cheaper plays than like Max in Grant and guys like that, costing only a little over 100k more than what Smith was, and they're locked into their spot in their teams and minutes and all that kind of stuff, right? So my goal for next year is aim for someone in that range. And, for example, Grant, he's not going to be crazy expensive after not his best year. So there's just an easy example of someone that might be a little bit cheaper going into next year that could work out for you. In the front row forward, I almost got this position perfect, I think. Totola plotted really until the injury, but he wasn't really a problem. The other three were great. May was a big win. Henry and Hughes, May was a big win, but any other coaches just grabbed him week 2 anyway, after guys like Jai Arrow and these types of guys got injured. But I'll definitely do similar again, and the other two cheapies did well. Second row forward, the mid-range strategy really backfired, unfortunately, and I didn't even start with the correct mid-range guy in Josh Curran. So compared to the others, even off the bench, he's a safer pick just because we know he's done it for a longer period of time. When he gets decent minutes, we assumed he would get decent minutes, but thought the other guys might have a little bit more in the tank in more minutes than 50 or 55 that Curran was meant to grab. So yeah, the others all had worries, and they actually came true, sadly. But starting with one close to gun price here in the second row forward will be my play next season. I grabbed Katoa in like round 4 or something like that, and it really helped me. So I'll be doing something similar, and we'll see when I go through my trades that's a strategy that'll work better, I think, because I ended up grabbing one of these guns in all these positions in the first 5 rounds, and I was a bit behind the 8 ball, unfortunately. Halfback, Cleary and Hines, they both started slow, and they were at peak price, so that's the tough thing there, because and then moving into 2025, both are going to be both will be cheaper than what they started in 24, so it could actually be the play to start with both of them next year if nothing much else shows up, but at least there'll be some saved dollars there, because not every year is the same. This year was tough beginning with, it was a tough beginning for these two. And it's also tough in general for halves to get going early. So there's a little bit of merit in going another way to start, but usually sort of one or both of these guys start going nuts by sort of round 4, 5, 6. So you must be ready if you go against them to try and get on them, because you don't want to miss those 150s, which we did see, Hines that week that he went nuts and got over 150. If you didn't have him, that really hurt your season. The 5/8 position there, it was a pretty position. We knew in the preseason there wasn't a lot available. Munster was a bit of a worry. Obviously, Burton ended up being the play, but buying Brown at total peak price there, it's a mistake at the beginning of the season. And we obviously didn't know the Eels were going to be poor, but he doesn't really have the upside into the 120s, apart from round 26 that we saw apparently. And he and the Eels started slow, so he underperformed. He lost over 100k easy in that first couple of months of the season. So you could easily have picked him up a little bit later for a cheaper price. So I'm definitely going another way next time to someone not as expensive to spend elsewhere. And if you could buy someone, even if they're not going to go up too much in price, but they they can fairly comfortably score that 5 to 10 points less consistently, but at that cheaper price, you can use that money elsewhere to free up getting closer to a gun in another position, just for example. But I was happy with the Metcalf punt. He's a good player with scoring upside. I'd do it again. Someone like that in the mid-range. Center wing. I just need to start with one gun. That's how we could build from there. That was my main problem. All mid-range and cheapies. It's getting close to the best position as well. There's so many guys that score really high. Guys like Carraz, Lomax, and Holmes stood out fairly early. So being able to start with one of those guys, obviously Carraz was a little bit undervalued. He started kind of slow, but had some decent game. He had that one big game where he got a double or whatever it was, and then had a cracking season. And Lomax stood out early. Holmes got picked up a couple of big scores, then got a ton the first game or close to it, and then another one in sort of round 3 or 4. So try to pick just one close to top tier guy, whether they're slightly undervalued at a higher price or just you expect them to do well and they're kind of there each and every season will be the play, because the mid-range boys didn't perform up to scratch. And for me, with 4 starters in center wing, you're just leaving too many points on the table in that important position. So I'll fix that next time. Fullback, and obviously, guys, each year is different too. So this strategy, I'm thinking, might not be correct next season. This strategy, if it all panned out, could have worked, but I was relying on a lot of luck. Whereas if you're buying at least a gun in most positions, you'll be able to save some trades likely, and you can build a bit quicker if you get the cheapies right. So that's where I got the cheapies right, and you'll actually see there, which I didn't mention before, in my team value, went from 11.5 mil very quickly, all the way up to, by the time round 6 came along, I had gained $1.5 million of value. And then by the time round 10 came, I'd gained over 3 million in value in total. So moved to 15 million by round 14, and then kind of held, and then got to 15.5 basically by round 26. So I think I moved up team value really, really quickly, but at the expense of some points in some scenarios there. In the fullback spot, Ponga, we just bought at peak price, unfortunately, and he started slow. Ouch. Turbo was a little bit cheaper than that. He did his job to start, and it was cheaper than Ponga, so that was good. But obviously, Teddy was the clear play at a discount. We know that he's an absolute god in Supercoach, and anyone that started with him. All the Trell did really well. They were a bit cheaper. Could spend that bit of money elsewhere. So that was kind of the simple one with fullback. But Turbo, 80k cheaper than Ponga, whatever it was, even him at a high price, was the play at cheaper. So in summary, I think I need to free up about 600k to upgrade to a better main guy in the hooking position. 100, 150k I'll need. Second row forward, an extra 200k, and then center wing, 200 to 250k to get up to one of those guns. That would have felt more balanced to me, and it would have helped with not buying guys at peak price, because I would have went, oh, that's way too expensive. I would have downgraded Ponga, one of Cleary and Hines, because they were both at peak price. Fair enough going with one of them, but not going with the other. And then even Dylan Brown at peak price, and I might have decided to go against those guys just on peak price value alone. It's going to be interesting to see how it all looks come around season 2025, and I'm excited to go through it. So there you go. But round 1 and 2, these trades that I looked at, it goes from, just brought it over from the Supercoach app there, which was fun. But round 2, unfortunately, traded Bostock to Carvis Ball. So I just needed to wait a week on this trade, unfortunately. He went on a big run after that. Just didn't need to go early, even though Kai went well. I could just wait till round 3, but I was trying to get ahead of the pack. I think just need to check out the landscape in round 2 and boost in round 3, unless something is super obvious in round 2, but this wasn't super obvious. It obviously panned out the wrong way, but just holding those weeks. Round 3, I got rid of my first hooker in Smith and went cheaper to Lussick. So it was a good cash grab, but then I was absolutely handicapped to be able to get up to the 550, 600k range, which I'm talking about, having 2 cheapies there. But then Curran and Roger for Salmon and Lukey was good. It helped me improve my center wing, which is what I wanted to do in hindsight from the start. All right, I've already had 2 trades in hooker already. So Appy comes in there for Levi. So I moved on from Levi a bit too quick. He ended up making another 100 or so K, and Appy got chased again with a couple of good scores, and he looked like he was absolutely crushing it, and that was going to be his first price rise. So I went for that. So sometimes going for the price rise is not the play, because it handicaps you a bit later. So just remember that as well. A couple of good scores there, but unlucky with some tries taken back and all that kind of stuff. So Appy could have worked out, but didn't he got a bunch of injuries, bits and pieces that hurt him mid-game and missing random games and all that kind of stuff in that one. And then, as I said, Levi went on to make another 100k or so, and I grabbed Galvin and Holmes. So they were good moves in round 4 there. Round 5, Pikuru to Katoa was a great upgrade, but again, it took me until round 5 to get the improved hooker, second row forward, and centre wing. And I understand sometimes you need cash to be able to do all these things, but I could have also just redistributed my funds over that time at the beginning of the season from round 1 and been working on getting another gun in these positions, like I said. So it's just a little bit behind the 8 ball, and hence the bad ranking at that point. And then Solangi cash grab wasn't super ideal, but I did actually hold him, and he made plenty of cash in the end. But it was a bit of a tough one at the time. Tuapiki he was doing well until he copped that concussion. He was going to have that one more game to get closer to 400k and wasn't to be there. In round 6, definitely cleaned up house in that one. It was a great boost week for me. 2 good cash cows, in IRO. In Schiller, guaranteed money there, and they end up getting a 90 or something the week before, after. Well, the week that I bought him. And then, Jerome Hughes came in, who, apart from a couple of weeks, lasted the season there where he had an injury. Good to grab someone in form that was doing well. Round 7 there, Taylor May came out at 414k, so so cheap. But Crichton and Willison came in for Totola as well. Willison was okay play, but the reason I did it was I didn't have a front row forward for the Dogs buy. I had Curran and Hughes there, so hindsight says just don't waste a trade there on someone that isn't likely to go really, really big, and Crichton was massive. Round 8, so tough. Brought in Isaac Tungo at 684 when there was guys like Lomax, Carraz on offer. Pretty disgusting, pretty silly in the end, just for the fact that he was on the slide a little bit, and then was hoping the fact that Cleary's going to come back and do well. So it was a bit of unluckiness, but he looked so great the first few rounds and then just never got back to that form. So a little bit unlucky, but sold Schiller here at 473 after making 270. Really good. Another average hooker move in round 9. So I brought in Jaden Brayley, and he had a shocker there. So just too many moves in the hooking position. If I just had Robson, could have been Robson and Levi for a good while, and it would have been fine. So just simple things like that can be big. All right. Here's an example here in round 10 of buying 2 guys on the up and cheap. So I had Sam Walker and Watson, both under 580k. And in the third one, I bought Asako at 770 odd K. So 776. So at close to peak price after a really good 3-week run. After that, he lost about 200 to 300k and fell off a cliff, unfortunately. So the rest were great. Hughes had a couple week injury before Origin, so that's why I bought Walker in. He got me a couple of tons, did some good stuff. So buying guys at cheaper prices, and I bought one at peak. So that shows usually how it works after people are going runs. Round 11, Walsh went out in for Drinkwater in that one. So I brought Walsh in a couple of in that round I was talking about with Isaac Tungo there. He was fairly hyped up. I don't think it was the best play in the end. Just I remember it happened. I was like, I was fine, but then he got injured again. So, bit gross. Drinkwater did a solid job for us. In the next one, Watson made me 150k. Was doing great work, and then got the throat injury. He would have made Origin anyway. So, it was like a week early basically from when we would have had to sell him. But Watson to Aiken, an injury swap. Aiken was great. Round 14 there, saw Hines out. Bring in Fafita, so he did well until he didn't. And then Fuller, I had brought in a bunch of weeks ago. He solid as a cash grab, made 200 odd K. Had some good weeks there, but I brought back Jerome Hughes, which was good. Super simple. Round 16. I got Plath at 544, so a good little undervalued-ish play. He ended up having a bunch of good weeks for me in that back end, but he did have plenty in there where it was just very mid. A lot of average scores, and again, through that Origin period and then into the around 2021, 22, when you're looking for big scores, Plath wasn't delivering that, and that kind of hurt a little bit, but Teddy in was massive. Talangi got to 606, so did well on him money-wise. Round 18, I feel like these couple hurt. Brought in Hines, he was only in for a week before injury, and then Marzu, he's just never got back to that form, so I bought a couple of guys, Tungo and Marzu, just weren't in form for the season. What you're looking for is guys that were at a peak price, they drop right down, and then look like they're going to get back into form, or they just had a few weeks without tries, and the tries will come back into their game. You saw Lomax do that. We saw AFB in a second, which we'll get to, but you got to look for those kind of trends there. Drinkwater lost about 20k for me, but did fine enough. But in this round 19 one, I had Fermor to Olaquatu, which again, he fell off a cliff. So it was just a tough little period for some of the trade-ins there. Fermor actually started to hit big form afterwards, and Ola got suspended. But Campbell and Turbo both turned up in that week, and I made those trades out of guys on buy. In Drinkwater, he had a buy in that one, but ended up being a pretty solid trade to Turbo on that one. This is my best trade of the year here. I brought AFB in at 562k. He turned up that week and he went back all the way up to high 700s, which was great. So just look at those kind of purchases, buying guys at reduced prices who were a gun in years prior or in that current year that are likely to get back to that. AFB just looks like he was carrying a bit of an injury, didn't look the same. And at 562, it was like, he could go back to try scoring here. Even if he gets back to just good base stats, he'll be sweet. Another example would have been in round 21 with Isaiah Yeo. He got down to 550 odd and was a terrific buy from there till the end of the season. Watson I brought in this week instead of 677. So fantasy and Supercoach was I lucked out with that one. But it was a fairly high price, so maybe could have avoided it on that front. But I was just remembering how good he was when I had him before and sold him. And then just minutes and he got moved around and all that type of stuff really hurt. All right, round 21, I did sell Brown, but I was trying to get Cleary back in. So I had to sell him or Galvin at that point. It was Hughes was the other option. I was like, nah, no thanks. But sold one of them. To be fair, both of them were holds. And then Cleary got injured, so it was a pretty tough one there. And then McLean was a good cash down / cash out. And I think at this point, you want by round 20, I think, in Supercoach if you can to probably get at least a cash out in. And then one more in like round 22 or 23 if you need the extra cash again. Just get those guns as quick as possible after Origin or even during that last round 18, somewhere there kind of range there. Bad timing on Payne Haas. He got injured that week. That was rough. I had Katoa was out injured in for Carrigan at 536. So seemed like a really cheap price. Could have got Yo as well. Either one would have worked. And then Haas out for Tarpany. So really strong replacements there. It's probably 15 weeks late on getting Lomax. Unfortunately, bought him a little bit cheap. Had a couple of good weeks to finish the season. No big tons for me. But Asako, sold him when he'd fallen off a cliff. 547 there. And then Smithies finally went out as well. He was held for way too long, for example. And then round 25, brought in DCE. He was gross, but was the play. In form, DCE was looking average in that one. And then I sold McLean for 427 to Dom Young. I finally got Dom Young in and he shit the bed, sadly, for those last 2 weeks, unfortunately. I also saved, I was going to do a second trade, my last trade of the year for Yo to bring in. But when Turbo got injured, I held off, but then Yo got 120 odds. That was annoying. And then the last round, I traded in Ponga for Trebojevic. So I did save a lot of trades, you can see, for this back end. And I just didn't really make any ground there. So I just think getting things right at the beginning of the season, whether that's using a lot of trades early or just getting that round one team sorted, basically. If I can do that, I'd probably save a few there, but make sure I get the correct guys and get the correct guns. Keeping it pretty simple. In Supercoach next year, just spreading that cash a little bit. You see a lot of the guys that started well, they spread the cash. It was Hopgood in here. Go for guys like Cartwright and these types of guys that can have good starts. The Val Holmes in center wing. Eli Gatoas, that was like a little bit undervalued. Those types of guys in certain spots could be the play. Olaquatu started really well, so different guys like that will do good work for you. There's other cheaper guys that will come up in those big halfback, 5'8", fullback positions. So there's always options. It's just picking the right guys that aren't really at peak price, or don't buy a lot of them at peak price because it hurts you in other positions, and spread that cash a little bit so you can have some stability, have some consistency, so that one of the positions, at least all of your positions, have something decent in them, and you're not going to fall behind if your strategy in that position fails. Unfortunately, I use a lot of trades in hooker. Had to sort my positions out of center wing and second row forward fairly early, where just getting them decent from the start would have been good. So that's the Supercoach season, guys. Plenty of fun things there in that one, and I'm going to learn so much more for next year. I will beat that 2600 next year without a doubt. Definitely didn't go as well as last year. In 2023, I fell away a bit. I was in the 500s and then fell away to 2100. So hopefully I can do better than those 2 years next year, and I think I will. Come along with me, guys. I'm going to be posting how my NBL Supercoach team is going to go. I'll do a bit of a overview if anyone wants to join in and play that. Let me know in the comments if you want to join into the NBL stuff with me. I'll just do some random videos on that. I'm just going to play it and study it a little bit and get me prepped for delving right into getting things right for the BBL Supercoach season, which I'm excited for as well. All right, just quickly before we go, I do have to shout out the great man who won our league, Mr. Dave Billington. Congrats to him in that private group there. All right, there it is. Gallon has cat balls. What a name. Congrats to him for winning that, winning this season. He picked up an 887 overall rank. Even himself was saying that, he just felt like he built up really well with team value at 15.7 mil, but unfortunately, buying guns that ended up getting injured, it was like, the guys that are a bit cheaper, unfortunately, were able to score better because they were getting injured. Getting all that cash to be able to spend it on Cleary and Hines and Haas and these type of guys that end up, they get injured and stuff like that. So a great win from Johnny there, from Dave there, and he ended up winning the Supercoach prizes for that one. And then a shout out to Dorbarossi, Matt, and then myself in the bronze place in third. So the private group that are obviously a lot more fantasy guys need to get their act together. There's 69 teams that joined that, and hopefully we can get more than one person in the top 1,000 next year. But a big shout out to Johnny Dave, maiden name, for doing really well and having a cracking season. So thanks to everyone for joining that one. Hopefully we have a bunch more playing Supercoach next year as well. So there you go, guys. Thank you for that one, and we'll catch you in the next video.